as an example of low quality content.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why are people watching this nonsense? But then I find myself laughing at it as well.
Yeah.
So your brain is literally rotting if you do it every single day.
If you're not doing this, then you're just consuming brain rot, basically. Episode 2 of BrainBuzz. I hope this is actually episode 2. This might cause problems in the edit, maybe. But let's pretend this is going to be episode 2.
You'll have a voiceover, won't you? Episode.
I know.
It's actually episode 17.
But I think this should be one of our first episodes because we are talking about the Oxford Dictionary's word of 2024, brain rot. So the definition of brain rot is an informal term that refers to the supposed negative effects of consuming large amounts of low-quality online content. It can also refer to the content itself. Often used by young people on social media, which doesn't really include any of us. Yeah. But I think we're familiar with the term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are we familiar with what it means? Do we agree with what it means? I mean, I've got red flags, sounds harsh, but low quality online content. So a good example would be this thing which I have been shown. I don't go looking for this content myself. I'm not a regular of it, but I've been shown this thing where people drop something on their feet and somebody else films it. And it's something which might be quite light, gradually gets heavier, and I mean, to be fair,
so that's the whole thing. Is
some of it is so
reactions
as an example of low quality content.
Yeah,
I'm just like, why are people watching this nonsense? But then I find myself laughing at it as well. So, is it? I mean, who define? I mean, this is big questions. Flips. We're getting into sort of Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance here, which is another podcast, maybe. But quality. What's quality? Who says that it's low quality versus high quality?
Yeah.
From a brain fitness point of view, from a psychology point of view, what's your thoughts on brain rot?
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to learn more about who did this. Was it like an older person who come up with the term? Like, but
Oxford Dictionary, I'm picturing Oxford dons, gowns, hats.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what the younger generation, do they agree with, you speak on all of the younger generation, don't you, Alex? You know them all, don't you? Yeah. Like, is it a generally acceptable term? Is it like is it an accepted term in the younger generation as well? Yeah, like there is like...
Say something I reference often, actually.
Yeah.
Because I don't see it as brain... Yeah, it is, but I don't think anything I watch is brain rot.
There we go.
Although,
yeah.
No, actually people say, I'm going to go rot for a bit, which means I'm going to scroll on TikTok for an hour before I go to bed.
Interesting.
So people say they're going to go and rot for a bit as if it's almost like a positive thing.
That's the interesting... I've never heard it used like that, but actually we were just talking about the point being like, actually, if it's deliberate and intentional, like, is that actually brain rot? If I'm going to do this for an hour and I'm going to love it, like, I know it's rot, but I'm just going to indulge and love it. Well, actually, from a brain fitness point of view, bloody do it.
So if I say I'm going to rot in bed to my friend now, she says, I go to the gym afterwards.
Yeah.
She goes and rots in bed afterwards.
Yeah. Such a strange term.
You should have been on this one, Alex, I think.
Yeah. Come on.
Is it
we can repeat.
If that makes you feel good?
From our audience.
So question from the audience there.
It's a bit like Newsnight when they haven't got a mic.
Question from the audience: is it rotting if it doesn't make you feel good? Like instinctively, like I would say no. Like, I think the definition of brain rot isn't actually like it's if there's a purpose and it's serving a purpose and makes you feel good, then like that's not brain rot.
So yes, but I'm going to invoke the words of my mother here, who says everything in moderation. And actually there's some scientific stuff that's going on, and we all know, well, a lot of people talk about dopamine when you're getting your little dopamine hits, and that's meant to be a positive thing. But actually, if you get the same dopamine hit in pretty much the same area of the brain, for instance, when you're sitting watching a video, then if you're repeatedly doing it, dopamine actually also it literally rots your your brain slightly. So the idea is that you should be engaging your brain in lots of different things, loads of different things that make you feel positive. Brilliant. And so it's great. Go and rot in bed if you want to, but don't do it every single night. Go and do some other stuff.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You just said that's what brain rot is then.
Yeah.
That's
Brilliant.
the actual definition.
Yeah.
So your brain is literally rotting if you do it every single day.
But is it rotting and doesn't recover? Is it one of those things where it kind of rots a bit, but then sleep flushes that away, and then you're refreshed and recovered? There's
definitely that, and we should talk about sleep as well. But it's so in a similar way where we say that we need oxygen to live day to day. If we don't get oxygen, we're going to die. But also over the long term, very sadly, it also kills us because it degrades our cells, etc. And dopamine is doing a similar thing. We need dopamine to learn as well. It's almost the learning neurotransmitter, the learning chemical. But if we just use one area of the brain repeatedly, then we can get very scientific, but it leads to things like Alzheimer's and things like that. So it's so important to have variety.
So variety, there we go.
Is there a valid, again, I'm not sure how we feel about the term find your therapy, but it's this idea that different things work for different people to help them feel better, to feel good, to de-stress, empty the stress bucket, whatever, all of the things that how you might describe this effect. Different things work for different people. Yeah. So if this low quality online content of people dropping things on their feet, for example, works for you, it's not really low quality. It's working. It's doing a job. And rotting is more of a kind of colloquial term adopted by young people. Is it us? I say us because I'm the eldest, I think. But is it us older people misunderstanding? Is this? It seems a funny thing to focus in on.
It's really hard to talk, isn't it? In general sense, when you don't have any context. I like the idea of bringing that sort of doing something different and variability. But if there was someone who is really stretching their brain every day, and try new things, and then we're like, well, I'm going to have this hour just for brain rot. Actually, overhaul that brain is, I don't know, is that going to make much of a difference? It's actually if they're doing lots of different things in the day and really challenging their day, and this is just their chance to just unwind, because not everyone wants to sit and meditate. Maybe this is just a chance to just de-stress. So it's really hard, isn't it, to sort of talk without any context, to just talk really generally. But I
quite like we were talking about this in terms of, Andy, you getting up at 5 a.m. and
not all the time, just when I'm really ready and raring.
Are you part of that 5 a.m. club, and you're getting up and meditating, probably going for a run, cold plunge?
And just to be clear, when you get up at 5 a.m, it doesn't feel like you're part of a club. There is nobody else around.
There's nobody else there, apart from all the other 5 a.mers who are smashing the day, all somewhere, kind of stuff. Somewhere else, just not many in Edinburgh. Is it this? I don't know what the word is, like fetishizing, if that's a word. Not mental health, but this well-being and making it kind of exclusive and unattainable. And it's this extreme, and it doesn't seem very helpful. So by calling something brain rot that's actually quite normal and potentially helpful, it feels like it's the opposite extreme of the 5 a.m. club, which is what you should be doing. And if you're not doing this, then you're just consuming brain rot, basically. None of it seems, I think, helpful to normalise and to get people.
But I think what is helpful on that is actually naming something, calling it. When you name something, then you can have control over it. Right? So even it's brain rot, but now I know what this thing is, so I can make decisions. I'm going to do this for an hour. I think So I think coming back to what we're doing with brain fitness and having words for things that you currently can't sort of grasp, it really does help you to control. This is brain rot, but I'm going to be deliberate about how much brain rot I get. I think it can be helpful. Having words.
Good way of putting it is control. And it's really important to have that. And sometimes when you get to the end of the day and you've been pretty much sitting on the couch for the entire day, you get, like, I don't know if everyone does, but I feel like really frustrated. I'm like, that is a total waste of a day. And it's fine to do that for a little bit, to maybe be a bit more self-aware and have a bit more brain fitness to be like, okay, that's me done with that now.
Yeah, absolutely. We said about sort of if you feel good, like do it as a stress relief, but actually for brain fitness, we want this regular feeling of satisfaction, and we want things that we're doing, the serotonin, so we want to be doing positive things, and these sort of this regular feeling of like being satisfied with what we're doing, and that's where we're focusing.
Because this is stuff that we will measure, help people to identify, isn't it? So if watching some brain rot content, people, I keep coming back to this thing of people dropping something on. I mean, who invented that? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Mind-boggling to me. But lots of people, including myself, actually find it slightly entertaining. But if you can appreciate, if you can measure it, if somebody, us in this case, is providing you with data and insights to say, that thing actually helped you to improve your brain fitness, to improve your brain performance. That's a good thing, I think. And it's this beams thing. I love the beams that we do. So just helping to identify things that make you feel good, which otherwise might just
pass you by.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's great.
Yeah.
I do still struggle to see how watching people drop something on their
feet.
No,
I think the term used for it is like you can see why, I think because like essentially the brain is it's a bit of a waste of your brain, isn't it? If you're just spending your life creating videos about, you can do better basically, and I think that's sort of the idea behind is like, we're just encouraging the youth to just want to just do more of the, they could do more with the brains instead of wasting it. I think that's sort of the idea.
I'm liking this. So we're basically saying brain rot, not that it is always a good thing. Too much of it can be bad. And I think that's kind of what people are saying. I mean, it's not a medical term, but that there can be negative impacts when there's too much of it. But brain rot, actually, if it's in moderation, to quote your mother, can be a good thing. So what's your brain rot? Both of you.
Put me on the spot. Just like the majority of people just watching the stuff on social media.
Do you watch people dropping things on their feet?
Not well, just because I have got boys who just watch these videos. But like I do find, you do think like, what is this all about? It's a waste of time. I don't really do it, to be honest. I find myself that wanting to do more things that feel like positive. We talk about these things of positive actions in brain fitness, personal training, doing more of them, doing more positive actions that make you feel good. So like, I can't imagine if you're really sort of fit in your brain fit and you're like really satisfied in your life, you really feel much of a need to spend too much time brain rot. Like it suggests to me, and this I'm being very, very general, but it suggests to me if you're consistently wanting to go at the end of the night on these things for I'm going to have an hour of brain rot, suggests that the day is somehow unsatisfying and is being a hard slog. We haven't been enjoying what we're doing. We measure our calm score through the metrics, and it picks up on the days when you're enjoying the day, you're doing something that you enjoy doing, you want to do, that your calm score will go right up. If you're doing something that the day is like it's a slog, you don't want to be there. Maybe if you're in a job you don't want to do, your calm score will go right down. So if I'm spending day after day in a job where like I hate and I don't want to do, I am stressed, and then I'm going to feel like I just need some rot to just escape. Then our brain is really unfit. So really, if your brain is fit, you're really not really going to. You're going to be wanting to do something else. You have more resources, more energy to do something else than just sort of sit and rot your brain. It's sort of it's like with the physical analogy. That I can get in trouble for touching that mic. Sorry. If you are physically fit and in good shape, you don't really want to go. Like you might have the odd chocolate bar, but you're getting so much satisfaction from eating well. You don't want to have the food that's bad. Like so, when you're getting so much satisfaction in your life and the things you're doing, you don't really want to. Like you want to do more of the stuff that makes you feel good. So
Is that how brain fitness works? It's kind of a virtuous circle.
It's like
not just like physical fitness. When you're eating well and exercising, and you start to
when you
crave good stuff.
Absolutely. The hardest bit is getting the weight off and getting fit. Once you're sort of there, like with physical fit, once you're in good shape, actually it takes less effort to maintain it. The muscles actually require more. You have to eat more to keep the muscle. They burn more calories. Like, so it takes the effort to build it up. But once you're there, you're in the routine of going to the gym. Like you're loving your lifestyle. It's the same with BrainFit. It takes a bit of effort to sort of get brain fit if you're really sort of in a position where your brain fitness is really poor. But once you're there, like it takes less effort to maintain it, because the more you're thinking positive, the more you fire off that neuron. I think Chris was telling us, the more it takes less effort then to use that neuron again. So it gets easier to think positive. You just naturally just want to do more stuff that makes you feel good. So you don't really fancy that wine. You might have a glass of wine, but you're like, I'm done now. Like, I don't feel like I need to have wine to escape the day or to just recover from the day. Like when we're brain fit, we're like, yeah, I'll have a bit, but that's fine. Or I might have 10 minutes, but actually, no, this is just because we're so used to that feeling, that constant flow of like serotonin and feeling good. Like it's a lot easier to spot when something's like doesn't feel good. We're like, and we get more boundaried and disciplined. You know, it's like, nah, I'm doing that. You know, like I want to do this. So I think I might have gone off track there, but it's like that old idea when your brain fit, actually, like it takes less effort to maintain it. Yeah.
I like it. So we are redefining brain rot in the same way we're redefining mental health. We are nothing if not ambitious. But I'm going to stick with the term because I quite like it. And if the kids are we're going to get down with the kids and keep using it. So
I feel if you
rot,
say get down with the kids, then you
are instantly not down with the kids.
Yeah,
exactly. That's why I do it. So Andy, what's your brain rot?
What's my brain rot?
After you've done your 5 a.m. and your cold plunge and all that kind of stuff.
Then by 7 a.m. I'm like, well, I'm done with the day now. I can just sit and watch TV all day long. I do like a wee computer game. So, And I was chatting to Chris, who's another member of the team who's just recently started, and he's a neuroscientist. So he obviously only makes important, clever decisions that are always right. And he told me the other day that so I was feeling bad about the amount of hours that I put into this game. One thing I hate about games and the habit that almost every game does now is it tracks the number of hours that you play on. And I don't understand. I don't think any user has ever said, I really want to know exactly how many hours I've spent on this game. So yeah, I'm on one game, I'm around about 290 hours spent on this one game. And Chris is over 500 hours on one game, which makes me feel a lot better. But yeah, so like to switch off the game, you effectively just run around an open world. It's very relaxing that you don't need. You can switch your brain off. You can rot away for a little bit. And it's actually, I noticed that when you have a day that you think you've achieved a lot, then actually your brain rot session is a lot more satisfying. You're like, I really deserve
and
this.
At the end of the day, if it's feeling satisfying, then that's good. That we're feeling good. Like and it's as well how we appraise something. If like Chris had 500 sessions and he's like, well, that's okay, I'm not bothered. Then we're keeping nice and fit. It's when we start telling ourselves, I'm such a bad person. It's all these. When we start sort of being hard on ourselves, but then actually not taking any action or doing anything about it, just keep going like, wow, I'm such a loser, whatever you might say to yourself, but like just being negative and hard but not doing anything about it or making changes. That's really bad for your brain fitness. You do that, you start doing that consistently over a few weeks, that your brain fitness is going to start sort of taking a bit of a start decline. So it's
gaming's an interesting one because we've had loads of discussions about this, esports and athletes who use gaming not just to relax, but actually to maintain that sharpness and focus and the brain fitness, basically. So it's good for their brain performance too. But it's such you are literally, I suppose, the downside of it, and this is the sort of I suppose the stereotype or the reputation that you just sat in a chair. It's quite often like teenage boys sat in their bedroom and not going out, not socializing, not seeing people, not getting any sunlight. But there are positives to gaming, particularly if there's a social aspect. If you're playing with other people, you can learn an awful lot of transferable skills. So again, it's kind of demonized in a way, but has its positives too.
And it's that whole, that just made me think then when you're talking, that whole idea with using brain fitness PTs, that seeing the value in everything you're doing so that we're not wasting any. So people say, "Oh, I'm on the computer," but like you're getting something out of it. So it's looking at the positives, everything that you'll be doing something. So does that make sense? Like, so that everything we're doing there's a value to it.
Looking at the positives, and then combined with being self-aware as well, though, because there is a thing here with habits, and so it's not like how often do we end up? We find ourselves in front of the TV, and 2.5 hours has gone by, and you didn't really sit at the start and think, I choose to spend 2.5 hours sitting here and doing nothing else. It just, the time goes, and that's just, so it's important to be self-aware to then think, you know what, actually an hour's done, I've got my little hit, and let's go do something else.
That's right. We use the word deliberate a lot. It just, whatever you're doing, before you start it, I'll be deliberate, right? Okay, I got to do this for an hour, so the brain knows like what. We don't just get lost and it becomes, I'm not going to do this tonight. Like, so it's deliberate. We're making the choice in the moment rather than just stuck on repeated patterns. This is just what I do. You're sort of on that autopilot treadmill, which is not a good way to be. We're feeling like we're not sort of taking any control or speeding it up or down as we want, or just sort of trudging along.
Yeah, and it seems like an obvious thing, but we were chatting earlier on about how about 95% or between 92 and 96% or whatever of the decisions that you make during the day are all subconscious. So it's quite obvious then that a lot of the times when you find yourself doing something, you've never been deliberate. And so it's a really nice takeaway to think, right, okay, I want to actually choose to be a bit more deliberate, and maybe there's going to be a little bit less subconscious stuff going on, and you're going to have a bit more control.
I was dying to quote Baz Luhrmann then, talking about making choices, and they're all half chance, but so are everybody else's. That's I've got more Baz Luhrmann quotes if you want. That's another...
let's just play Baz Luhrmann as the intro and outro.
Oh yeah, we've got a soundtrack for this part. Yeah, we definitely need a little intro. Cool. Gaming.
Yeah.
Well,
a little bit of social media.
Gaming, a little bit of social media. There was something I was going to ask there. Or it was more about you were chatting earlier on about how you're feeling. Yeah, you almost said, but you didn't want to say the loser thing. Talking and like negative self-talk and all that kind of thing, and it leans into what we were talking about earlier on about how there's nothing wrong with our brains. It's the environment that we find ourselves in, and the environment almost encourages that kind of negative self-talk. But actually, we should recognise it's not us. At all.
Absolutely. And you just got me thinking then about brain rot and the environment, and again, what is brain rot for me is I find myself in an environment which is there'll be lots of moms or parents on the school, and you have to interact a lot with other parents who you have nothing in common with, and it's not interesting. And to me, that feels like a brain rot. So I'm in an environment that I have to go in every day, and I get nothing out of it, and it's not stimulated, and it's very sort of boring. And that is like going off what you're saying there, but it's the environment. So if we're in an environment that is rotting our brain, and you have to do that consistently, so it's there's always something you can do, right? There's always something you can control. That's what you focus on. So for me, it's sort of limiting the amount of time I'm exposed to the brain rot. Being very deliberate, right? Okay, like in and out. Like I don't, Does that make sense? So it's again that word deliberate. If you're aware of you're in a situation that's rotting your brain, I love the word rot actually. I think it really does make sense because you feel like my brain is not stimulated. Like unfortunately with the kids when they're little, like you love them, but your brain is rotting because they're not. You're not like being stimulated. You're talking like I was just. The other day, just explaining to my mum how I was just folding up all the washing. I just used to narrate what I was doing to the baby, be like, just folding because my brain was just like, I'm just folding these trousers here, baby. And it's just like trying to stimulate my brain.
Isn't it?
My brain was rotting. I was not getting any interaction, lack of sleep as well, which is important. But so brain rot isn't necessarily like an action. It's like if you are if your brain isn't getting stimulated, you're not sort of like it is like you can feel it rotting. You can feel I struggled to talk, at times, because just sort of not interacting and talking with anyone, and it's just not sort of being stimulated. So I guess the idea then is sort of there's always something you can do. Like for me, I found that technique of just talking to myself, but it helped. Well, like if I know I'm going to the school run and it's so boring and so dull, and I have to interact a lot with people that like just are not interested to me. Like,
and hopefully none of them are listening to this podcast.
They know.
They're thinking exactly the same
they think
thing.
It's exactly the same to me. Absolutely. I'm sure they're fabulous people. Well, really, I'm sure they think the same about me. But it's for you, for yourself, to make the decisions that feel right to you, right? So if you're in a situation that is right in your brain, try what can you do? Certainly reduce the amount of time you're exposed to it, and then concentrate on what actually does set your brain on fire, like alive. What am I like really interested in? Do more. That's where you concentrate. Do more of that.
It's the language that we use about, I think, particularly about what's going on in our brains. I suppose it's because we can't measure it.
Yeah.
Although we can now, but we know so little about it. So this language I'm finding really, really confusing, because we've got brain rot, which is genuinely bad for your brain fitness and performance, as we would define it. But then the brain rot, which actually can be quite good for you, because it's something which empties your stress bucket or relaxes you, actually makes you feel good. And it's just this term that's been applied to it is brain rot. Yeah. So, I mean, it just, to me, makes it more confusing for everybody and more... It's like, is this bad for me or is this good for me? Because it's called brain rot, but it actually makes me feel good.
I think that the fact that the term is quite narrow in the sense that, like, it's to do with media that you're watching that's sort of low level quality or something. But like, actually, there's lots of things we can do. Like I was just saying, in our day, that's rotting our brain. Like, I think it's a really useful term. That it is negative, but it's like how you use it, it's like if you're, and it depends on your goal, right? Like and we're talking about brain fitness, but if you're trying to be physically fit, like a chocolate bar is a chocolate bar, but if you want to get in good shape, like that's not good to have that a lot over time. So if your goal is to be brain fit, like brain rot is brain rot, but like it's not going to be a good idea. You're not going to get the outcomes you want or achieve your goal if you're going to spend too much time doing things that rot your brain, basically.
So we're not going to have a brain rot score on our platform anytime soon.
That is not on brand at all. That's the opposite of positivity.
Sounds confusing. But it's a fascinating subject. We could talk for hours. Yeah. I am so pleased to have found out what your chosen brain rot is as well. Something new. And then maybe tune in next time and I'll tell you what mine is as well.
Well, we should have asked. That's my idea. But hey,
I think
that's another whole 25-minute episode just on it by itself. So.
Exactly. And I'd need to couch it. That's definitely more like therapy. I think we get into that realm with my brain rot.
Okay, I think to wrap it up, let's just have a little takeaway, actually, because mine to hammer home is that the brain rot is actually a lot to do with how often you do things. So actually, if you have a brain training game, if you spend 10 hours a day, every day doing that, that is going to rot your brain. Yeah. Even if it's called a brain training game, it's going to rot your brain. So variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
That's the great takeaway.
The things that keep your interest.
And the spice of the brain.
You're interested, so be curious about it. Like, it's that sort of, rather than just sticking to patterns, it's like that sort of, just things that you're interested in and you're sort of curious about it. Like,
really important.
Yeah.
And don't be too hard on yourself, I suppose. That's the other thing, isn't it?
Definitely.
Which is another Baz Luhrmann quote.
And the next episode will just be Matt doing Baz Luhrmann
quoting
quotes.
Baz Luhrmann from memory.
Thank you.